This guy, well, is driving his wife, Kira, to the home of his ex-wife, Eden, and her current husband, David, for dinner. Eden invited them over. Crazy, right? On their way, they hit a coyote, and Will takes care of it before getting back in the car and continuing the journey. They arrive at the house in the evening, and wow, it's a big house. There are other people there, so they say their hellos before sitting down. Eden comes down last, and why does it feel like there's still chemistry between these two? She notices a drop of blood on his face and cleans it for him. After having their moment, they now introduce their new partners. David is a little too touchy-feely, but okay, let's get to dinner already. While David is making a toast, Will locks eyes with a mysterious-looking woman who quickly goes back into the room. I believe that lady has no bottoms on. Shortly after, she comes back out in a dress, and Eden introduces her as Sty. They met in Mexico, and Sty is now staying with them. Sty then turns to Will and tells him that she has heard so much about him. Things are getting a little awkward now. As he goes to the kitchen to get water to drink, he's getting flashbacks of some violent things that happened in this kitchen. He's lost in his thoughts, so he's really startled when Eden comes from behind and calls his name. They get talking, and these two surely still have a thing for each other. They haven't seen each other for 2 years, and here they are, shamelessly flirting with each other. Will tells her she looks different, and she says she is different. She says she's free, all her pain is gone, and she wants that for Will too. Then one of the guys, Ben, walks in and breaks the party. The three now get talking, and Eden is telling the guys that negative emotions, grief, anger, depression, all that, are just chemical reactions and so are completely changeable. Her message is that pain is optional. Ben then says exactly what's on my mind. He tells her that sounds crazy, and you won't believe it, he gets a slap for it. Now, the pain that Ben felt from that slap was surely not optional, definitely not. Eden tells him until he stops making jokes out of everything, he'll never learn a thing. That's why nobody cares what he thinks. Will was shocked to see that. I mean, he was married to the woman, but even he was shocked. He asks Ben if that's how she's been acting all night, and he says yes, she and David have been weird all evening. Ben believes that Eden has become irrational, but he shifts his attention to Will and asks how he's feeling. Will responds that he's unsure, and Ben can relate to that feeling. The group of friends then catch up with each other, sharing jokes, before rejoining the others in the living room. Eden offers Ben a drink without apologizing for any tension. Instead, she tells him that she has moved past it, and suggests he does too. Ben accepts the drink, and it seems like the tension has eased. Will finds himself engaged in conversation with CLA while they sit on the stairs. A new person, Pute, joins them. He's only known by David, Eden, and Sadi. Gina is still waiting for her boyfriend Choi, but she has no service to call him. David advises her on where she can find a signal. As Gina leaves, Will notices David locking the door and pocketing the key. Will questions this, but David explains it's due to a recent home invasion. Still uncertain, Will asks about fire safety, but David avoids further discussion by putting the key back in the lock. Eden then asks Will to fetch more firewood. As he goes to do so, Kira wants to accompany him, but Eden stops her and inquires if Will has been agitated lately. Kira mentions they've been discussing Will. While gathering firewood in the backyard, Will glimpses through the window and sees Eden placing something in a drawer in her room. Curious, he investigates and finds a bottle of pills, which he takes some of before leaving. Upon returning outside, he encounters David, and though there's an awkward silence, nothing more happens. Will experiences another flashback, this time of a pleasant memory with Eden in a bathtub, interrupted by their son. Back in the present, Gina screams from the living room, claiming that Eden and David are in a cult. David clarifies that it's a support group for those who've lost someone, more scientific than religious. He shows them a video about the group led by someone called Dr. Joseph. The guys ask questions, and David explains further, giving his testimony of how the group helped him. Eden also speaks, expressing how the group saved her life. She's smiling and making it all look too easy, which bothers Will. He stands up to confront her, raising his voice, but Tommy steps in quickly. Tommy takes Will to the kitchen to calm down. Meanwhile, David and Pute go to the door, and some people scatter to different rooms. Gina goes to comfort Will, who's still distracted by the commotion at the door. After David closes the door, Gina explains that it was just a group of people looking for a party. She offers Will comfort, knowing this is tough for him because she and her boyfriend were supposed to be there together for him. They hug, and she goes to refill her drink. Will goes to sit alone at a table, examining Eden's pills. Miguel joins him and tells him the pill is called phenobarbital. As they talk, Tommy interrupts and invites them to join outside. Will quickly puts the pills back in his pocket, telling Miguel to keep it between them. Miguel jokingly asked how many drinks it would take for him to start singing, says none, and denies speaking English when asked further. His boyfriend thinks it's not a big deal, and Will is just overreacting. David apologizes to the group upstairs for the video he showed earlier, clarifying he's not imposing his ideas on them. He suggests playing a game they used to play in Mexico called I Want. In this game, the point is to be honest and admit desires, believing that anything is possible when social constraints, embarrassments, negative emotions, and inhibitions are stripped away. However, after such a long lecture, Will finds it hard to get in the mood for games. Sad starts the game, expressing love for everyone and kissing Gina. This immediately puts Gina in the mood for the game, and she asks David for some cocaine he used to do. David takes her request seriously, showing how the game encourages honesty. Though Gina was only kidding, David insists she wasn't and hands it to her, stating that's the point of the game. Despite this, Will feels unsure about the game. It all seemed pretty exciting, at least until Pute decided to share. He said he wanted to talk about his wife, and then he started telling a boring story. He mentioned how he loved her even before they met, and when they did meet, he found her to be the most beautiful woman ever. Miguel noticed he was using past tense and asked if she passed away. But wait, this boring story took a surprising turn. Pute confessed that he clapped his wife 7 years ago and went to prison for it. He said prison didn't change him, but something called the invitation did. Now he doesn't feel guilty anymore and feels free to forgive himself. CLA reacted strongly, saying it didn't feel honest and felt like he was trying to sell them something. While everyone was confused, Eden chimed in, saying she wanted to kiss Ben. Ben agreed, and they shared a longer and more passionate kiss than expected. Everyone cheered except CLA, who felt uncomfortable and left. Pute followed her outside, and Will watched from the window, unable to see what happened next. David confronted Will about his suspicious behavior, but Will apologized. Pute returned, explaining he was apologizing to Claire for scaring her with his story. After the tension, the group went upstairs for dinner, sharing jokes and laughter. However, Will sat in silence, lost in his memories. He remembered his son's 5th birthday when everything was fine. Suddenly, things became intense, and he felt like nobody could hear him, even when he screamed. Next, he found himself standing outside, watching Kira clear the table. When he re-entered the house, he saw us making strange faces in front of a mirror. She caught him watching, and he left, pretending to make a call outside. Sadie joined him, suggesting that things weren't good with Kira, noticing her distance. Will tried to change the subject by pretending to make a call. But then Sty reminds him that there's no phone service here and sits beside him. Can you believe what she says next? She tells him he can, do it right there. Will is so confused, but she says that's what it was like in Mexico, where everyone was just going for it. Will tells her she needs to go back inside, but Sty asks if he doesn't like her. He says he doesn't even know her. She says she can make him like her so much without even touching him. She even says he can hurt her if he wants, but he says he doesn't want to. Sty believes him and finally leaves him alone, going inside. Now Tommy approaches Will. Will says something feels off about tonight, but Tommy insists everything is okay. He encourages Will, saying it's normal to feel odd about visiting the house he once lived in. He tells Will he's brave for coming here, gives him a hug, and then goes inside. Still outside, Will finally gets some service, and a voicemail pops in. It's Choi. Essentially, he tells Will that he was the earliest to the house. In fact, he sent this voicemail from in front of the house. Of course, that does absolutely no good to an already suspicious and paranoid Will, who hasn't seen Choi all night. Now Will returns to the dining table. The lights go off, and Eden and David come in with a cake for Miguel's birthday, which is in a week. The lights come back on, and everybody's cheering, but Will just blurts out, "Where's Choi?" He then tells them that he got a message from Choi saying he was here. Everybody is confused, including Eden and David. Of course, Gina is really bothered, but Eden assures her that they haven't seen Choi tonight. When Pute tries to contribute to the conversation, Will lashes out at him, saying he doesn't know why he and Sad are here. He turns to Eden and David, saying they haven't seen them for 2 years, and then suddenly they get invited to a dinner. He says it's not normal, both the invitation to the dinner and the invitation to the cult yelling. He says the invitation is about denial and it's brainwashing. Now he reveals the thing that he and Eden lost that he has been trying not to talk about all night, his son Ty. They lost their son, and now Eden is acting like it meant nothing. He returns to the original topic, asking again where Choi is, and he gets the same answer. Kira now asks that they leave immediately as she gets up from her seat. They hear the bell. Of course, it's Choi. Now Will looks like a fool. He's crying and apologizing, but they all say it's cool. They say it's because he lost his son. Then he goes to the bathroom. And there, he remembers helping Ty wash his hands. When he's done, he goes outside to sit alone. Kira comes to join him and asks to leave. He starts talking to her and blaming himself for Ty's death. She tells him to forgive himself and move on, but he doesn't think she can help, so she leaves. Later, Will comes back inside and asks to see Ty's room. He goes in and memories flood back, even seeing Ty's face for the first time. While in the room, Will sees David go to the garden, light a red lantern, and return to the house. Now Will is suspicious again. He finds a laptop on the desk and sees a message from Dr. Joseph. The video is eerie, with the guy inviting people to join the cult. Pro knocks on the door, saying everyone is waiting. Will closes the laptop and goes back upstairs with Pute. At the table, David and Eden serve wine to everyone. After a toast, Will freaks out, knocking glasses and yelling they need to leave now. Pute attacks him, followed by Sadie, who accuses Will of ruining everything. Will pushes Sadie aside, and she falls unconscious. Amidst the chaos, they discover Gina is also unconscious. She was the only one who drank the wine. Ben calls 911, Kira checks pulses, and Miguel tries CPR on Gina. Suddenly, David shoots Miguel in the head. Things slow down and then get crazier. Sadie wakes up, and David hands a gun to Pute. Pute shoots Choi, who is still alive, and then finishes the job. The others try to run, but Tommy charges at David for revenge. Eden stops him from reaching her husband. She takes a knife and slashes him like in the movies. Now we have Ben, Kira, and Will left. They try to leave through the front door, but it's locked. Will tries another exit, but Sadie attacks him, biting and hitting. He fights her off and locks himself in a room with Kira. While they're in the room, they see David and Pute attacking Ben together. Now it's just Will and Kira left. Will shares his determination with Kira, and they try to quietly leave the room. They see David trying to convince Eden to join him, but she seems unsure. David thinks they're doing this to end their pain. He and Eden leave, and Will and Kira find Sadie injured but alive. They head upstairs to find an exit Will remembers from before, but it's gone. They hide from Pute, then surprise him, but he fights back. Pute starts choking Will, but Kira hits him from behind until he passes out. They leave the house and find Eden, who shoots Will before turning the gun on herself. Tommy, surprisingly, is still alive. Kira picks up Eden's gun as they wait for David, who's coming upstairs. But Tommy attacks him and they fight. Tommy stabs David, and it looks like he's done for. But Eden is still alive. She calls out to Will, apologizing and asking to be taken outside. Will and Kira carry her out, where she takes her last breath. The three survivors hug, but then they notice a red light spreading across the city, along with sounds of chaos. It seems like many others received the deadly invitation tonight.